Greetings, yogis. My name is Daniel from Daniel Lee Yoga. Thank you for joining me this evening. It's Wednesday evening and it's Earth Day, so happy Earth Day to all of you out there. Appreciate you coming to class this evening. We're going to have a really fun level 1 focus class. In level 1, it's a little bit of a step up from our fundamental, where we're going to have a good mix of standing and sitting, movement postures. We'll have a little bit of inversions with introducing downward facing dog and other poses that you'll enjoy. But don't worry, even if you're new to yoga or this class, I'll provide some modifications along the way that should help you feel right at home in this class. So I'm taking a little bit of time this week at least, and probably moving forward, just to make sure that the stream looks okay, that you guys can see me and hear me. I've had some issues in the past. So if anyone out there that's watching, if they could check in for me, just letting me know that they're here and the stream looks good, I'd appreciate that. So while you guys check in, just had a couple notes. This is a 60-minute class as always. We're just starting at 8 p.m. tonight. We should be back to our normal schedule starting Friday, 7 p.m. and then next week should be normal schedule, 7 p.m. for all the classes, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. As far as today, we're really going to be working on opening our shoulders. I don't know if you're like me, but I work at the computer all day and really I start to hunch over, start to round my back. And today in this week, really, we're focusing on, thank you, Lori, for checking in. We're really going to be focusing on opening these shoulders and the chest, broadening those collarbones, and working some binds with our arms behind our back and around our legs. So, in order to help us reinforce that, a strap is definitely helpful to have. Don't feel like, thank you, Jody. Don't feel like you need to have a yoga strap. I just have a belt. That's fine. We're not going to be looping or anything today. If you have a towel, that can work, or even an old shirt. Just anything that you'll be able to grab onto with both hands. So strap will be pretty essential today. As far as blocks, not as essential, but if you do have a block, definitely have that with you. Have it nearby. You can always use something like a Kleenex box or something similar to it. Just place that at the top of the mat. We'll be coming to that later in practice. But if you do have it, just have it nearby. Okay, so, oh yeah, and we're back at the beach today. Lori, I know you had some thoughts on where we might be. Again, I'm not sure where this beach is, but it's a fun setting, and hopefully you can hear the waves in the background. I really appreciate it. It really helps me calm down and just enjoy practice along the way. As far as I think the last thing is if you'd like to donate, the donation link is always in the video description, so you can see that after class. And then after class, I can take any questions or whatever along the way. You can always just leave those in chat as well. So I think we're ready to get started. So again, happy Earth Day. Let's move. So let's start in a cross-legged seated position. So everyone start in a cross-legged seated position. Legs are crossed at the shins and your sit bones are rooted down. If you ever have any issues sitting cross-legged where you feel like you're falling back or you're arching or rounding your back too much, you can always sit on a block. You can roll up your mat. You can sit on a towel. Anything just to give you a little bit of elevation. So make sure you're nice and comfortable and then grab your strap. You want to grab your strap with both arms and make your arms about shoulder width, maybe a little bit wider than shoulder width distance. Once you have that, you just have a nice grasp on that and just release your hands down to your knees. Okay, here we go. We're going to inhale as we straighten our arms, raise our arms overhead, and exhale, gently release back down to the knees. Inhale as you raise, and exhale as you release. Let's inhale, raise back up. Exhale, release. We're going to do this one more time. Inhale as you raise. Don't worry if your arms don't come fully overhead. Just exhale, gently release. Okay, let's add a lean to that. So let's inhale as we raise our arms overhead. Keep the sit bones rooted. And then we're gently going to lean to our left side. Keep your head equally in between both biceps as you lean. And inhale as you lift back up to center. Exhale, release the strap down to your knees first. Inhale back up to center. And now exhale as you lean to the other side. So now leaning to my right. I'm keeping my head equally in between both biceps. Now inhale back to center. Exhale, release back down to the knees. Inhale, arms back up. And let's lean to that first side. So I'm going to lean to my left. I'm keeping both sit bones rooted. I'm just moving as one complete unit here. Let's inhale back to center. Exhale, release those hands back down to your knees. Let's inhale those arms back up. And let's lean to that right side now. Again, full upper body moves as just one unit here. Inhale back to center. And exhale, gently release your hands down. Now keep those straps in your arms. We're going to add a twist now. So inhale as you raise your arms up. Again, keeping that body as one unit. Exhale as you twist to your left. So once you're twisting over your knee, then you can drop your arms down where both arms come to either side of that knee. Now inhale as you lift back up. Exhale as you turn back to center and release those arms down to center. Let's inhale, lift the arms back up. Exhale as we turn over now our right knee, drop both arms down to either side of that knee. And then inhale, lift back up. Exhale, turn back to center. Okay, let's do that one more time, each side. So let's first drop our arms down. So let's exhale, we'll release our arms to center. Inhale, bring the arms back up. Exhale as you turn to your left, release both arms to the outside of that knee. Inhale, both arms up. Exhale, come back to center, release the arms down. Inhale, back up. And exhale, turning to your right now, releasing both arms. And inhaling back up to center. And exhale, gently release the arms down. Okay, you can release the strap now. Put it off to the side, but keep it nearby. We'll come back to that later. So again, when we're doing binds and we're opening the shoulders, it's really important to know the difference between our internal and external rotation at this shoulder socket. So it can be a little painful if you don't exactly know if we're going into a bind, if we're doing something behind our back, where your shoulders should be, what rotation you should have. So let's learn and recap that a little bit. Let's extend both arms out, palms face down. This is our neutral position here. Let's start with our internal rotation. So our internal rotation of our shoulder socket, we're going to rotate the entire arm. So the thumbs come down, the palms face back. Internal rotation. Maybe your palms start to face up. Gently release back into your neutral position. And let's try external rotation. So now thumbs come up, palms face up, then your thumbs come back. External rotation at that shoulder socket. Gently release back to neutral position. Let's do internal rotation again. So thumbs come down, palms face up. Will they face back? Maybe they face up. Internal rotation. Now stay here. Now be very gentle. This is just an experiment here. But see how far up you can lift your hands overhead with this internal rotation. So I'm going to try and lift my arms up overhead. And I don't get very far. This is about as far as I get. I can feel my shoulders kind of crunching in together. Just doesn't feel very good. So gently release your arms back down. Release back to neutral. Let's try that same thing again, but with external rotation. So now our thumbs come up, our palms face up, and our thumbs are back. Now let's see if we can lift our arms up overhead. Wow, much easier for me. It probably is much easier for you too. Maybe you can even clasp your hands together. So gently release your fingers, arms back out to the side, palms face up. Gently release back to neutral and release your arms down to the sides. So you can see a little bit of the difference there. We have a little bit more mobility, especially when we're raising our arms overhead if our shoulder socket is in an external rotation. So one more thing here while we're seating. Let's extend both arms out. Start with your palms face down. Come into an external rotation again. So thumbs come up, palms face up, the thumbs come back. Now with this, now bend your elbows. We're coming into what some people refer to as like bucket arms, like if you're holding two buckets. But your arms are in an external rotation. As you bend your elbows, your hands come in towards your chest. So this is bucket arms here. So just kind of see how this feels as you have your external rotation here. Let's extend those arms back out. And come back to neutral position. Let's try it with internal rotation. Let's see how it feels. So internally rotate those arms, palms face up. Now, can you come into those bucket arms? Not really. It just feels weird bringing those elbows in. It doesn't really make sense. So extend those arms back out, release back to neutral, and release the arms down. So we'll be coming back to those bucket arms later. Just wanted to see how that felt doing both internal and external. Okay, so now let's extend our legs out. It's always good to do our little bear sit here with our legs forward. So extend both legs out, keep both knees bent, heels on the ground, feet are flexed. Your arms are behind you, fingers are facing forward. Sit bones are rooted, gently press down through the heels. Again, you're flexing those toes so they're coming back toward your face. Now we're going to just gently do an internal rotation here at the hip socket now so that the knees come in towards each other. And now we're externally rotating the entire leg so that the knees separate. Keep doing that. Internal rotation, knees come in together. And externally rotating at that hip socket, knees separate. Keep going. If your knees come in and they actually touch, just gently separate your feet a little bit wider. Just keep gently going back and forth. We're just opening up those hip sockets. Definitely going to work on those today as well. Meet me back in our neutral position. Press yourself back up, and we're going to meet in our tabletop position. So you can cross your legs and come forward. You can shift your feet off to the side. We're just all going to meet in our tabletop here. Now, in our tabletop, it's really good to just wake up the spine here. So let's start with some cow-cats here. So starting with cow, we're going to drop our navel, send our heart forward, look up. We're arching the back here. Then reversing that by rounding the back. Separate the shoulder blades, let the head hang heavy, cat. Reversing that, inhale as you arch your back, send your heart forward, look up. And exhale, rounding the back, separating the shoulder blades, let the head hang heavy. Keep going, do 2 more times on your breath. And try to move the spine 1 vertebrae at a time, with your head moving last. So you're always starting at the low back, coming through the mid back, and then that head moves. Just taking your time. And after your last one, just meet me in tabletop in a nice neutral position. So now we're in our tabletop with our arms, with our hands beneath our shoulders, and we're going to gently release down to our forearms. So release your forearms down. So now instead of your wrists below your shoulders, now your elbows are directly beneath your shoulders. Your palms are nice and flat to the floor, and those are shoulder width distance as well. Keep your knees in the tops of your feet, hips width distance, a little bit closer. Okay, we're going to wake up the backs of the legs a little bit, those hamstrings. So begin by curling those right toes under, and then extend and straighten that right leg back. Press back through that right heel. And as far as your neck, try not to let your head hang here. Try to still have a slight tuck of that chin, where your gaze maybe is right in between both forearms. Now gently release that right knee back to where it started, tops of the right toes come to the ground. And let's switch to that left side. So extending that left leg back, curling those left toes under, straightening the left leg, pressing back through that left heel. And gently release the left leg back down. Let's do 1 more time each side. So curling those toes, straightening the leg, pressing back through that right heel. And gently releasing that right knee down. And switching to the left side. Curl the toes under. Press back to that left leg as you straighten. And gently release that left knee down. Okay, we're just going to build off that and take our leg up to hip height this time. So we're going to hover our leg this time. So starting with the right leg, extend the right leg back. Toes are now off the ground. Your feet are flexed. And now your leg is up at hip height. Try not to move your pelvis too much and keep pressing back through that right heel. Now gently release that right knee back down to the ground. Let's switch to the other side. So extend that left leg back, press back through that left heel, left leg is hip height. Gently release the left knee. Let's do 1 more time each side. Extend that right leg back, right heel presses back. Well, that right leg is hip height. And gently release that down. And last time, left side, extending and straightening that left leg. Left toes face the ground. pressing back through that left heel. Gently release that left heel to the ground. Okay, one more thing here while we're on our forearms. So make sure your elbows are still below your shoulders. Extend that right leg back, hip height, press back to that right heel. But this time, externally rotate that right leg so now the right toes face out to the side, just to your capacity. You don't want to dump and open up your pelvis here. You still want to keep your pelvis neutral. Just rotate to your capacity. Once you have that, you're going to bend your right knee and send that right knee up to your right tricep as you slightly round your back here. Exhale, send and extend and straighten that right leg back. Keep that external rotation, toes facing out. Let's do that one more time. Curl that right knee into the outside edge of that right tricep. See if you can touch and extend that right leg back. Come back to neutral. Bend that right knee. Release it back down to the mat. Let's try that on the other side. So straightening the left leg back. Left toes are flexed. Press that left heel back. Now we externally rotate that left leg, the entire left leg from that hip socket. Bend that left knee and send that left knee up to that left tricep. You're rounding like a cat. And straightening that leg back out. Try to keep those toes off the ground the whole time. One more time. Bending the left knee up to that left tricep. And extending that left leg back. Coming back to neutral. And releasing that left knee back down to the mat. Okay, make sure the tops of your feet are to the ground. We're going to press our hips back to our heels into our child's pose. Any child's pose that works for you. Our hips are coming back towards our heels. Knees can be together or separate. Let your forehead fall to the mat, or place it on a block or a towel if it doesn't quite reach. Just stay in your Balasana for a couple breaths here. Take one more deep breath in your child's pose. And exhale. Okay, from your child's pose, begin to lift your forehead up and start to walk your hands back towards your knees. We're coming into Virasana. We're sitting still, our hips back on our heels, but we're lifting our torso up. Now, if this is too much to sit like this, you can always place a block in between your feet. So if you have a block, you can place it in between your feet for a little bit more elevation. You can also use a pillow, anything that you may have. Or if neither of those options work, you can always just come back into a cross-legged seated position. So just do what works for you. Just come into your seat of choice. Now, wherever you are, place both hands on your hips. Can you feel your little pelvic bones there, your hip bones there? We're going to try and move the pelvis forward and back while keeping the upper torso kind of just in line here. So we're going to gently rock that pelvis forward and rock it back. So rocking it forward and back. Just go forward and back on your breath. Now again, we're trying not to move the whole body here. We're trying to keep the upper spine as it is and just moving that lower lumbar spine with the pelvis. Shifting the pelvis forward and back. Just keep going. Keep moving that pelvis, but as you do, release your hands to your knees or the tops of your thighs. And just keep doing that. Just keep shifting your pelvis forward and back while trying to keep your shoulders and your chin just slightly aligned. Now begin to slow that down and try and find the midpoint between that forward and back. That should be a nice, comfortable place where you can still have your sit bones rooted wherever you are. And you can rise up to the crown of your head to create a nice long spine here. All right. We're going to come into Gomukhasana arms. So it's going to be our first arm bind of the evening. So grab your strap and we'll start. I'll place it around my right shoulder to start. So place it around your right shoulder and let's extend both arms out to the side. With both arms out to the side, palms face down, let's externally rotate both arms. Now let's come into that bucket arm again. So with our arms externally rotated, palms face up, bend the elbows so both elbows come in toward your chest. Arms come in, palms still face up. Now from here, take this right arm, extend it out straight where it started, and then lift it up overhead. Once it's overhead, then you can bend that right elbow and see if you can grab onto the strap behind your back. Now, it's a little tricky here with this left arm now. So bring some awareness to this left shoulder socket And see if you can feel it's already starting to open now just by being in this little posture here. So try and keep that as you start to just internally rotate just from like your forearm to your elbow, and then you send that arm behind your back so that the back of that left hand comes to the lower back. Again, keep opening that left shoulder, keep that open, and then maybe you grab that strap behind your back. So I'll turn just so you can see here. So my top arm is grabbing the strap, left arm is grabbing the strap as well. You may have a shirt or something else. Once you have that strap, if you want to try and walk your hands a little bit closer to each other, you can do that. Or you may not even need a strap and maybe you can bring those fingers together. Either way, just have a nice grip of whatever you have. And now just kind of notice, is your pelvis dumping forward in order to get that strap in both hands or those fingers? See if you can gently move that pelvis back to that midline where we were before. And while you're here, breathe into your back ribs to try and have a nice long spine. So there, we're reducing that arch in the back and we're trying to get it nice and straight. Press the back of your head into that top arm. Lift that right elbow up as you draw that bottom elbow down. Stay for one more breath. And gently release the strap. Release both arms out to the sides, palms face down, and both arms down to the sides. All right, how did that feel? We're going to try the other side. Okay, so now I'm putting the strap over my left shoulder now. I'm going to extend both arms out, start with the palms facing down. Now externally rotate the palms face up, thumbs are back. And we're going to bend into those bucket arms now. Now with my left hand, I'm going to raise that up. So the left palm is in. Bend that left elbow behind the back, and now I'm grabbing that strap with my left arm. Now again, bring some awareness to this right shoulder socket. See how it's already open? Those collarbones are open. Try and keep that as you internally rotate that right forearm and send it back behind your back so that the back of that right hand comes to that lower back. See if you can grab the strap there, keep that right shoulder open, and once you have that strap, maybe you can walk those fingertips a little bit closer together, or maybe your fingertips touch or clasp. Wherever you are, again, bring some awareness now to your pelvis. Are you dumping it forward? I usually start to arch mine a little bit. So I'm going to try and move my pelvis back. Breathe into my back ribs. That lifts my spine up, creates a nice long spine. Draw that left elbow up in the air and the right elbow down. Stay for one more breath here. And exhale. Gently release the strap. Release both arms out to the side and release palms down. Take that strap. You can place it off your shoulder. Keep it nearby. Just place it on the side of your mat. Okay, so now we're coming back into tabletop. So tabletop again, hands are beneath your shoulders, knees are beneath your hips, tops of the feet to the ground. Okay, we're going to come into a kind of a unique tabletop here now. So just follow along. So typically in tabletop, with your palms on the ground, your wrist creases are lined up with the short edge of your mat, usually nice and parallel, like this. But now what I want you to do is turn them out about 45 degrees each. So you're turning both hands out about 45 degrees. And now, if you have a mat, hopefully most of you have a mat, you're going to clasp the edges of your mat. So your fingers come underneath your mat and your thumbs are on top of your mat. I know this is a little funky, but so those wrists are 45 degrees and you're clasping that mat. Now with that, you're going to curl your toes under, lifting your knees off the ground, lifting your hips up. We're coming into a downward facing dog while clasping our mat here. So at your first downward facing dog, you can bend your knees. You can just kind of walk your feet out, take your dog for a walk here. But just see how it feels now with your wrists slightly turned out and you're gripping that mat. Hug those triceps in and spin those biceps out. We have an external rotation here, ideally in our downward facing dog as well. So come back to stillness in your downward facing dog. Keep those knees bent. Shift your torso forward, lower those knees back down to the ground, and release that mat. Release the mat, but keep both hands at 45 degrees. So your wrists are still 45 degrees. You release the mat. And make sure your wrists are still back under your shoulders. You may have had to widen them out a little bit. Now, while you're keeping this, again, bring some awareness to your shoulder sockets here. And you're going to move just your wrists and your forearm so that wrist crease relines up with the short edge of your mat. So again, you're turning one hand in so that the fingers face forward. You're coming back into that traditional tabletop. But now you can kind of feel those arms engaged. They're externally rotated. Triceps are hugging in. Stay for a breath here in your tabletop. Now from here, you're going to curl those toes under. We're coming back into downward facing dog. So lift those hips up and back. Downward facing dog. See if that feels any differently now. Now that we're in that downward facing dog holding that mat, see if you can envision yourself. Give yourself some tiger claws and grip that mat. Hug those outer triceps in. Try to spin those biceps out. Press the hips back towards the heels, slight bend in the knees. Take an inhale here. And exhale. Now inhale as you gaze forward. Bend the knees. Exhale, walk or step to the top of the mat. Now you're in your forward fold here. Now we're coming up to a halfway lift, but what I want you to do before that is I want you to take your hands behind your back and place both hands on your back with your fingers facing down. So both hands on your lower back, right on your tailbone there, with the fingers facing down. So your elbows are bent. And now see if you can try to draw your elbows in towards each other. That's going to start to broaden your collarbones. As you do that, press your feet into the mat, lift up halfway. So you're lifting up halfway, you're trying to get your torso parallel with the mat here. Slight tuck of the chin, gaze is 2 or 3 feet out in front of you. Bend those knees if those hamstrings are still tight. If not, you can start to straighten your legs. But again, keep drawing those elbows towards each other. That's going to broaden those collarbones. Now, slight bend in the knees. We're coming up to standing, but just take your time. So we're gently starting to straighten the legs as we raise our torso up. Keep hugging those elbows in towards each other. Hands are still at that low back. And then you come to a standing position here. So keep those hands on your low back. Keep hugging those elbows in towards each other. And now you're gently just going to release those hands down to your sides. So you're gently releasing the hands down to the sides, palms face in. Take an inhale here. And exhale. All right. So make sure you're at the top of the mat still with your feet hips width distance. Actually, before I go back there, top of the mat, feet are hips width distance. Your palms are still facing forward. Do you still feel your chest opening there and those shoulders opening? Let's raise our arms up. So palms come out, raise our arms out to the side. Palms come in towards each other, overhead. You can see me a little bit better here, but my palms are overhead. And you can see in order to get our palms overhead to touch, we had to be in that external rotation. So now you're still at the top of your mat, arms overhead. We're going to come into a forward fold now. So bend the knees, forward fold, let the arms hang down. Place the hands on the lower back just as we had before, fingers facing down. Hug the elbows in toward each other. Inhale as you lift up halfway. Nice flat back, parallel to the ground. Bend the knees, come back into your forward fold, release the hands to the ground. Now place both hands on the mat, so both palms are on the mat. Bend your knees as much as you need to in order to make that happen. Once you have both palms on the mat, you're going to step your right foot back. You're going to step your left foot back. Now we're in our plank pose. If you ever need to, you can always drop to your knees and plank. Otherwise, try and hold. We'll be here for 2 breaths. It's that same external action. You're still trying to open up those collarbones. Send your heart forward as you tuck that tailbone down towards your heels. 1 more breath here. And exhale. So everyone drop to your knees. Now we're going to shift our torso forward. We're going to bend our elbows back. In order to bend our elbows back, we have to be in that external rotation. And we're going to lower our entire torso all the way down to the mat. Forehead comes to the mat. Once we're here, we're going to untuck the toes so the tops of the feet come to the ground. We're going to press the tops of the feet into the ground. Press the thighs into the ground. Hips press into the ground. Keep drawing those elbows towards each other just like we had at the lower back. And on your next inhale, lift your head up and your chest up into your baby cobra. Hi, Coney. Try to keep those bottom ribs on the mat. And you're looking for more length here. You're trying to send the crown of your head away from those toes. One more breath here. And gently release that forehead to the mat. Curl those toes under. Lift yourself up into tabletop with the toes curled under. Lift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. We're here just for a breath or two. Make sure your feet are hips width distance. You can have a slight bend in the knees, but the arms are shoulder width distance. Press down through the base of each finger and each palm of your hand. One more breath. And exhale. Now inhale as you gaze forward. Bend the knees. Exhale, walk or step to the top of the mat. Place your hands on your lower back. Fingers face down. Hug the elbows in toward each other. Inhale as you lift up halfway, nice flat back. Slight tuck of the chin. Gaze is 2 or 3 feet in front of your toes. And bend the knees. Release your arms. Come back down into your forward fold. And now your arms are going to come out and up. You're going to lift your torso up. Arms overhead. Palms face each other. Exhale, hands down to the center of your chest and down to the sides. Let's do that again. Inhale, arms up, palms touch overhead. Exhale, bend the knees, forward fold. This time, just a regular inhale, halfway lift. So just bring your hands to your shins, nice flat back. And exhale, forward fold. Place your palms to the mat. Step your right foot back. Step your left foot back into plank. We're here for 2 breaths. Again, you always have the option to drop to your knees. Either way, wherever you are, make sure your shoulders are over your wrists, pressing those heels back. Everyone drop to your knees. Inhale as you shift forward. Bend the elbows back and lower your entire torso all the way to the mat. Uncurl the back toes. Press the tops of your feet and your hips into the mat. Inhale as you lift and send that heart forward. Draw the back to the shoulder blades and the elbows together here. It's almost like you're trying to slide yourself forward, but your mat is too sticky. Trying to slide your entire body forward. One more breath here. And gently releasing that forehead down. Curl those back toes under. Press yourself up into tabletop. Toes curled under. Lift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. Now bend your knees pretty generously in this downward facing dog. And I want you to walk your hands back toward your feet, one hand print. So you're in this kind of like shortened down dog with your knees bent. Now from here, I want you to tent up on those left fingertips. So your right palm is down, you're up on your left fingertips. Now from here, you're going to let your left arm come under and through and see if that left arm can grab that right ankle. Again, bend the knees as much as you need to make this happen. Keep lifting those hips up, and maybe you turn and twist to look under that right armpit. Stay for one more breath. And exhale, gently release that left arm where we started. Recenter yourself, and let's come to the other side. So we start by tenting up on those right fingertips. We're going to be balancing on 3 appendages here. And then we send our right arm underneath and to the outer edge of that left ankle. Once you have that ankle, you can begin to twist and maybe look underneath that left armpit. Stay for one breath here. And exhale, gently release that right arm where we started. Oh, hi, Oliver. We're in our downward facing dog. Inhale as you gaze forward. Bend the knees. Exhale, walk or step to the top of your mat. Place your hands to the shins. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. Exhale as we forward fold. Inhale, arms out and up, chest up, look up. Exhale, hands down to the center of your chest and down to the sides. All right. Everyone feeling warmed up? Looks like just checking the stream. Looks like we're still good here. Great. Okay, let's come into a wide-legged stance. Always good to reinforce our warrior 2 pose here. So you're now facing the long edge of your mat. Feet are about 1 leg's distance apart. Start with your feet nice and parallel so those heels are behind the center toes. Hands come to the hips. So I'm going to start with my right leg. I'm going to externally rotate my entire right leg so my right toes face the short edge of my mat. I'm going to internally rotate my back leg, that's my left leg, so those left toes come just slightly forward. Now from here, I'm looking for heel to arch alignment. So I'm going to move my foot over a little bit just so I have that heel to arch alignment from my front foot to my back foot. Once I have that, I'm going to bend my right knee over my right ankle. Again, make sure if you're bending a little too far forward, you might need to wiggle that foot a little bit forward. So that knee should track right over that ankle. Another thing to keep in mind here is it's easy to dump this right hip out and let this left hip fall forward. But we want to counter that. So we want to pin this right hip in. You almost kind of want to roll this thigh in and under as you press this left thigh back. Once you do that, then square your shoulders to the side. So you're squaring the shoulders to the side edge of your mat. Lift up this frontal hip point and then extend both arms out, palms face down. Turn your neck to look over those right fingertips. Warrior two pose here. Okay, now straighten that front leg. Bring both arms up overhead, palms face each other. Exhale, release back down into warrior two. Inhale, straighten, arms overhead. Exhale, warrior two. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, straighten, arms overhead. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, straighten. And exhale, warrior two. Now, inner warrior two here, we're going to come to our bucket arms again. So we're going to externally rotate our arms. Draw those elbows in towards our side so that both palms are up and our elbows come in towards our side here. Now, with that, we're going to add a bind with our left arm. So that's my back arm here. So again, bring some awareness to this shoulder. Make sure that shoulder stays open. And you're going to internally rotate that forearm so the back of that left hand comes to that lower back here. Now, re-extend this right arm and bring it up overhead. And ready, now we're going to lean over that back leg, that left leg. We're going to look up towards the sky. Again, make sure that right knee is still tracking over that right ankle and pin this inner thigh back. If you want to, maybe that left arm comes a little bit farther, closer to that right thigh. Either way, keep it on that low back. Stay for 1 more breath. And exhale, raise the torso back up. Release the bind, send both arms out, palms face down. Straighten that front leg. Bring both hands into your hips and turn those right toes forward. And so that both toes are forward and parallel just where we started. All right, we got to do the other side now. So I'm going to externally rotate this entire left leg so that left leg faces forward. And then internally rotate this right leg so that the toes are just slightly forward. Make sure you have that heel to arch alignment. And once you do, you're going to bend that left knee over that left ankle. My knee comes a little far forward, so I'm going to heel toe my feet a little bit farther forward so that knee is directly over that ankle. Now, once I have that, again, try and pin this left thigh in. You're kind of trying to wrap this outer buttocks in and under as you press this right thigh in. So you want to avoid coming forward like this. We're countering that by pinning this outer thigh in, pressing this right thigh back. Now square the shoulders to the side and extend both arms out, palms face down. Turn your neck to look over those left fingertips, warrior two pose here. Now straighten that front leg, bring both arms up overhead, palms touch. Exhale, release back down into warrior two. Inhale, straighten. And exhale, warrior two. Keep going 2 more times. Inhale, straighten. Make sure when you bend that knee tracks over the ankle. 1 more time. Inhale, straighten. And exhale, bend into warrior two. Now, we're going to add our bind. So we're going to start by externally rotating our arms, coming into those bucket arms here. Now again, now it's this right shoulder we have to be mindful of. So try and keep that right shoulder open as you internally rotate that arm and send that back of that right hand to that lower back. Now extend that left arm forward, raise it up overhead, And now side lean over that right side. As you gaze up to that top arm, gaze up towards the ceiling. Staying for a breath here. Maybe you extend that left arm down a little bit farther. I'm sorry, that right arm towards that left thigh. One more breath here. And exhale, lift yourself back up. Release the mind, extend your arms out into Warrior Two. Now straighten that front leg. Bring both toes to face forward, hands to the hips, and walk both feet into your chest. Oh, hi Albert. Come here, buddy. Oliver's trying to break free here. Okay, where we were at the center. So come to the top of your mat. All right, so we just warmed up our hips and stuff. Now we're going to move a little bit more. So at the top of your mat, feet or hips width distance, heels behind the center toes. Arms down to your sides, palms face forward. Let's inhale, raise those arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold, knees can bend. Inhale, halfway lift, nice flat back. Exhale, place your palms to the ground. Step your right foot back, step your left foot back into plank. Hi, Oliver. Drop your knees to the ground. Shift your torso forward, lower all the way to the mat. Uncurl those back toes. Press your hips and your tops of your feet into the mat as you lift your head up and your chest up into your baby cobra. Stay for a breath in your baby cobra. And gently release your forehead to the mat. Curl the toes under. Press your hips up into tabletop. Lift your hips up and back into your downward facing dog. Now in your downward facing dog, I want you to tent up on both fingertips for a moment here. See if you can do that. As you do, raise your right leg back up to hip height, flex those toes. Bend the right knee into your chest, shift the torso forward, right foot comes to the top of the mat. It's just an easier way to maybe get that right foot to the top. You're going to drop your left knee down, uncurl those back toes, and you're going to lift your arms forward and up. We're coming into our low lunge Anjaneyasana here. So top of that left toe is pressing down. Now you can stay here, or now you have the option if you want to add those Gomukhasana arms, what we did in the beginning of practice. So if you use a strap, you can place it over your right shoulder. We have our right knee forward, right shoulder is forward. Our arms are already in external rotation, so I'm going to bend that right elbow to grab that right strap. Send that left arm out, internally rotate, but keep this left shoulder open, and then grab the strap there. Again, if you don't need a strap, you can grab both fingertips, but either way, wherever you are, you can just keep your arms overhead if you don't want to come into Gomukhasana arms here. Once you have that, again, shift your pelvis, draw your tailbone down, and then you can send your pelvis forward. Lift your heart up, maybe you have a slight back bend here. Stay for one more breath. And exhale, lift back up, release the bind, release the strap if you have it. Send the hands forward and down. We're staying low. So I want you to curl that back left toe under. Straighten the left leg so you're lifting the left heel off the ground. And we're going to come into our Warrior Two pose with our feet from this low lunge here. So you're going to drop that left heel to the ground and then maybe wiggle those right toes over so that you have that heel to arch alignment. Now pin this right thigh in and now bring this right arm to the inside edge of that right foot. This is where if you have a block or like a Kleenex box or something, you can place it underneath that right arm. Either way, either your fingertips, your palm, or your hand is on a block. Keep pinning that right thigh in, and then add your twist as you lift that left arm up into the air. This is our Parsvakonasana, our side angle. Keep pressing down through that left outer edge of that foot. Plug it in. Now press down through both feet, and we're going to lift our torso up into our Warrior Two pose here. And my back's to you guys, but you can still see we're in Warrior Two pose here. Now, from our Warrior Two pose, we're going to straighten that front leg. Externally rotate arms. We're coming into that bucket pose again. We're going to add our bind again. So this time we're going to internally rotate that left arm from the back. Send the back of that left palm to that lower back. Extend the right arm forward, raise that right palm up, add your side lean, and then you can bend your knee here. Just another way to come into it. Now, from here, keep the mind, straighten that front leg, and now lift your torso back up here. Now, from here, we're going to extend that right arm out, keep it externally rotated, bend that right knee again back to your warrior two. Now shift your torso forward, release that right arm to the inside edge of that right thigh. So you can gently rest your right arm there. So if you have your bind, you can try to extend that bind a little bit more if you'd like. Maybe that left hand comes to the inner edge of that right thigh. We're here for a couple breaths. So I don't want you to dump into that right shoulder. Make sure you're still lifting out of that right shoulder. That arm is just there for a little stability. You're pinning that right thigh in, and again, pressing that left thigh back. Try to roll that left shoulder up. Maybe the gaze comes up towards the ceiling. We're here for 2 more breaths. You can stay here, or if you want one more challenge for today, press down through that right heel and extend that right arm forward, right palm faces up. We're here for just one more breath. And exhale as you gently press yourself back up into warrior two. Extend both arms out. And then you're going to spiral both arms forward and down. Come up on the back foot. And then press both hands into the mat. Step the right foot to meet the back foot. Lower the knees to the ground. Shift the torso forward. Bend the elbows lower all the way to the mat. Hi, Coney. Uncurl those back toes so the tops of the toes are to the ground. Press your hips. Press the tops of the feet into the mat. Inhale, lift up into your baby cobra. Again, keep drawing the backs of the shoulder blades together. Maybe start to straighten your arms. You can come straight 50%, maybe 100% into your full cobra. Wherever you are, stay for one more breath. And gently bend those elbows back, lower all the way to the mat. Curl those back toes under. Lift your hips up into tabletop. And then you're lifting back up into your downward facing dog. So now we're going to move to that other side. So see if you can tent up on both fingertips, or you're in the down dog with fingertips. Bending the knees slightly. Now lift your left leg up to hip height. Flex those left toes. Curl the left knee into your chest. Shift the torso forward. That left foot comes up to the top of the mat. Drop that right knee down. Uncurl those back right toes. Lift your arms up into your Anjaneyasana, your low lunge. Again, you have the option to stay here, or if you want to add your bind, you can place your strap around your left shoulder. Now that left arm is already externally rotated, so you're just going to bend that left arm, grab that strap, send your right arm out, internally rotate, bend that right arm, grab that strap, but keep opening that right shoulder socket. Once you have that, draw your tailbone down, and then you can send your pelvis forward, lift your heart up. Draw that top elbow away from the bottom. One more breath wherever you are. And gently lift your torso back up. Release your bind. Release your strap. Send your arms forward and down to the mat. Now we're staying low, but we're going to curl our right toes under. Straighten that right knee so that right knee is straightened. And then you're going to drop that right heel to the ground. So again, we're looking for those warrior two feet. So I'm wiggling my front toe over a couple inches so that I still have that heel to arch alignment. Now, if you have your block, you can place it to the inside edge of that left foot, and then the left arm comes down to the block or the floor. Again, pin this left thigh in. We're trying to roll that left thigh in and under as we press that right thigh back. Now from here, now extend your right arm up, right palm faces forward. That's that external rotation. Press the back of that right foot down, plug it in, open that right shoulder up, maybe look up. One more breath here. Press down through both feet, and then lift yourself up into your warrior two pose. Straighten that front leg. Externally rotate both arms. We're going to add our bind. And bend both arms into your bucket pose. So now the right leg is back, so my right arm, keeping this shoulder open, I'm going to internally rotate that forearm. Back of the right hand comes to the lower back. Now this left arm, Left arm is going to straighten out, come up overhead, and then we're going to side lean with the straight leg. Now you can bend that left knee over that left ankle. Stay for a breath here. And exhale. Now straighten that front leg, lift your torso back up. We're now going to have the option to come into our extended side angle with the bind. So now bend that left knee back over that left ankle, release the left arm out, and send your torso forward as you release that left arm to the top of that left thigh. Again, we're not dumping into that left shoulder, so make sure you still have a nice long spine. Now from here, keep pinning that outer left thigh in, pressing that right thigh back. Maybe you increase your bind a little bit more. That right arm comes in and wraps around, touching that left thigh. If not, just keep it on your low back. We're here for 3 more breaths. So if you want one more challenge, keep opening that right shoulder blade. Press down through that left heel and extend that left arm forward, left palm faces up. Keep opening that right shoulder wherever you are. Spinning that outer left thigh in and under. One more breath here. And press into both feet to lift your torso up. Release the bind. Extend both arms out into Warrior 2. Straighten that front leg. Rebend that front leg. We're going to spin both arms forward and down. Move your block off to the side. Come up on that back heel. Send that left foot to meet the back foot. Drop your knees to the ground. Shift your torso forward. Lower all the way to the mat. Now uncurl those back toes. We're going to stay here for a moment here. So you're down on your belly now, and we're going to extend both arms out to the side. So both arms come out to a T with the palms face down. We're going to add a nice shoulder opener twist here. So we'll start with the right side. So you're going to tent up on these right fingertips and start to walk your fingers in as you roll over onto your left side. So try and keep that left palm down as you roll over onto your left side. So this right leg comes on top of your left leg. The side of your left head hangs gently onto the mat. Now again, if this is too much of an opener on that left shoulder, that left hand can come a little bit closer to your hips, but try and keep it out to the side if you can. You can stay here, or if you'd like, you can bend that right knee, open up that right leg, and drop that right foot behind your left knee. Stay for a couple breaths here. Should be a nice shoulder opener in that left shoulder. And gently release. If you have that knee up, extend that right knee back on top of the left. You're going to roll back onto your stomach. And we're going to switch to the other side. So make sure your right hand is out, right palm faces down. Tent up on those left fingertips. Begin to start rolling the left side of your body onto your right. Gently release the side of your right head onto the mat. You can keep walking those fingertips in, and if you need to, you can bring this right hand a little bit closer to your hips, but try to keep the palm down. If you'd like, you can stay here, or you can bend that left knee, open up that left leg, and place that left foot behind the right knee. Just stay here for a couple breaths. Just take some nice deep breaths as we open up that shoulder socket and that right socket. Just one more breath here. And let's straighten that left leg if it's bent. And gently roll over onto your belly again. Now from here, place both hands beneath your chest. Curl those toes under. We're pressing back up into tabletop one more time. And then we're pressing back into our child's pose. So tops of the feet come to the ground. Hips back to the heels. Your knees can either be together or to the width of your mat. Let your forehead fall to the mat or to a block. And just take some nice deep breaths here. We worked a lot with our shoulders today. We owe them a lot. Hopefully they feel nice and open. We're just going to be gentle with them through the rest of our practice here. So begin to press your forehead back up, walk your hands back up, lift your hips back up, and you're going to send your legs out in front of you. So you're coming to seated with your legs out in front of you. And now from here, slightly bend your knees. Grab your strap or your shirt or whatever you've been using. With your knees bent and your feet flexed, go ahead and wrap the strap around the ball of those feet. Take the strap in both arms. Try and have both arms nice and straight. Root down through your sit bones, rise up through the crown of your head, nice long spine. Again, your knees are bent to start. Inhale as you lengthen, and then we're going to come into a seated forward fold. So bend at your hip crease. You're only going to bend at your hip crease and your elbows as you draw your heart toward your toes. So we're trying to avoid rounding here. We're trying to send our heart towards our toes. Now, if your chest is resting on your thighs, then you can start to straighten your legs a little bit more and send your heart forward. Once you do that, you can slightly tuck your chin. Just staying here for 2 more breaths. It's our Paschimottanasana, our seated forward fold. 1 more breath here. And gently release the strap as you lift your torso back up. Strap can come off to the side. We're going to shift our hips forward, bend our knees. We're going to gently roll onto our backs. Keep your knees bent as you just gently roll down to your back. Now knees are bent, bring your heels a little bit closer in towards your hips so that your ankles are directly below your knees. And then walk your feet out to the width of the mat. With your feet out to the width of your mat, let your knees fall into touch. Arms are down by the sides. And then gently rock your knees from side to side. So keeping your feet out to the width of your mat, you're just gently rocking your knees from side to side. Just take your time here. The next time both your knees are on the left side, just stay there. Keep them down on the left side. We're going to add a little spinal twist on our backs here. Extend both arms out to a T, but this time palms face up, a T or a field goal pose. And if you'd like, you can place the outer edge of that left ankle on top of that right knee. If that's in your practice, if not, just keep that left foot underneath that right knee. The idea here is to keep that right shoulder on the ground. Gaze can either be up towards the ceiling, or you can turn your head to look over those right fingertips. Stay for a breath here. And exhale. Gently bring your head back up to center. Release that ankle from that knee if it's there, and draw both knees back up to center. And we'll come to the other side, dropping the knees off to the right side this time. So both knees fall off to the side, feet are still at the width of your mat, and if you'd like, you can place the outer edge of that right ankle on top of that left knee. Arms are still extended out, palms face up. Gaze is to the ceiling, or turn your neck to look over those left fingertips. Trying to keep that left shoulder on the mat. Stay for 2 breaths here. One last breath in your spinal twist. And gently release that ankle from the knee if you have it. Gaze comes back up to center as you lift your knees back up. Heel toe your feet back into hips width distance. Separate the knees to hips width distance. And let's hug your knees into your chest. Wrap your arms around your shins or your thighs. Give it a nice squeeze. One last squeeze here. Take an inhale. And exhale as you extend your legs away, your arms overhead. We're coming into one last extension stretch here. Arms overhead, toes point away. Stretch from your toes to your fingertips. And gently release. Send those arms down to your sides, palms face up. We're coming into our Shavasana pose here. You can gently let your knees and your feet fall out to the side. Shavasana is just a time to release any last little bit of attachment you may have to your body, or any judgment you may have from practice. Just a time to release and to be grateful to be just here in this present moment with yourself on your mat. Your gaze can start to soften or your eyes can close. Just let your body hang heavy, melting into your mat. Just begin to bring some awareness back into your body. You can start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. You can rotate your wrists and your ankles. And switch directions in those rotations. And then come back to stillness for one last breath here. Okay, now begin to gently bend your knees as you roll over to one side of your body. As you roll over to one side, your top knee comes to meet your bottom, and your top arm comes over and meets your bottom arm. You're in this fetal position for one more breath here. Try to keep your eyes softened or your gaze closed as you use your top arm to press yourself up into a comfortable cross-legged seated position to complete our practice together here. And once you're in your comfortable cross-legged seated position, your hands can either be on top of your knees, your palms can face up, or you can bring your palms into the center of your chest. Thank you for joining me for practice today. The light and love in me acknowledges and honors the light and love in each one of you. Thank you. Peace. Thank you all so much for joining me for practice later in the evening today. I appreciate you all for accommodating the later time today, and I hope you can just take whatever you made today and just enjoy it for the rest of the evening and for the rest of the week. I hope you feel good. If you have any questions, you can always leave them in the chat. I appreciate you guys checking in just to make sure the stream looked good. My email is in the video description, all my contact info. If you have any questions, just let me know. The next practice will be Friday evening at 7 p.m. So if you'll be there, I will see you there. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Thank you all again so much. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening. Happy Earth Day. Thanks. Peace.